All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the ISTE Librarians Network webinar series. My name is Heather Lister, and I am the chair of the professional development of the ISTE Librarians Network. And today we are super happy to be joined by Karey, Killian, and Tracy Chen, who are our ISTE Librarians Network award winners. So I'm going to pass it over to them just to introduce themselves, and then we're going to ask them some questions based on some of the findings that they had in their applications, and give them an opportunity to talk about their programs, their collaborations that they've done in the past and maybe are currently still doing, and tell us anything that they want in terms of advice for other people that are looking to follow in their footsteps. So Karey, can you take a minute? Karey is our primary winner, and she is from Pennsylvania, represent. She'll tell you a little bit about herself.
All right. Hi. Thank you so much for having me, and what an honor and a blessing it is to be selected as a ISTE-PLN Primary Library Award winner. I teach library classes to about 975 students in 3 different elementary schools in Milton Area School District, and I'm very blessed to work there, and it's in Pennsylvania. And I do a variety of activities and totally changed up the way libraries have been done in that district and in another district that I worked in. So it's truly exciting to see the change happening and just to be a part of the changes that are happening in education right now. So cool. Thanks.
Definitely. Tracy is our secondary winner.
Hi, I'm Tracy Chen, and I am from Vancouver, Washington. And as I was saying, it's our first sunny day in, like, I think since August of last year. I teach, I'm the teacher librarian, as we call ourselves in our district, in a high school, comprehensive high school of about 2,000 students, Skyview High School, grades 9th through 12th. We are a one-to-one district, one-to-one school, so my students all have iPads, which makes it really exciting and really challenging at the same time. I agree with Karey. What a tremendous honor to be selected for this award, and it is a really exciting time to be in education, and it's a really exciting time to be in libraries. So I hope that I continue to learn and grow from amazing teacher librarians from all across the country.
Awesome. So our first question is something that I noticed immediately about both of your nominations, was that you both didn't actually start your career as teacher librarians, that you actually began in the classroom. So maybe if you could just talk a little bit about what your path sort of led you into the career of librarianship, and maybe how your experience as a classroom teacher has shaped some of the things that you do in your library. And Tracy, we'll start with you for this one.
So I started my career as a high school English and social studies teacher, and I had just finished a master's degree in curriculum and instruction and was loving life. And my district actually had 7 librarians retire. This is in 2004. And so the district decided to cut those positions. And luckily, our community was outraged and really argued that libraries and librarians are really imperative to student learning and literacy. And so our district kind of backtracked and said, oh my gosh, we didn't realize that people were so passionate about this. And so they actually extended an opportunity to existing teachers to work for the district while they provided us the opportunity to get our library endorsement. And so we worked as librarians. There was a cohort group of us. We worked as librarians and as classroom teachers. And we got our endorsements through Portland State University. And it was really kind of exciting. At the time, I was excited to be a classroom teacher. I still loved my job, but the opportunity came up to be a librarian, and I jumped at it. They placed us at schools, like I said, that they had the openings. And I think being a classroom teacher and then moving into the library provides a unique perspective when it comes to collaboration with classroom teachers. If I am modeling something, or I want teachers to try something, I have that credibility to say, well, you know, I tried this when I was in the classroom, let's try this. Now, as my years grow and I'm further removed from the classroom, that credibility is shrinking, but I think it does provide that perspective that I've walked a mile in their shoes.
Definitely. I think that perspective is definitely essential when you're trying, like you said, to do new things, because you've been there, you've done that. Karey, what about you?
All right, completely agree. that being a classroom teacher does help the classroom teachers understand that you've been there and you know what it's like. I know I have a fixed schedule in the library classes, so the teachers drop their students off for library. I take them and I say, enjoy your time. I know it'll go by way too quickly because there's so many things that the classroom teachers have to do in that short amount of time. But yeah, I started off as a fourth, fifth, and sixth grade teacher. I followed the same group of students from fourth grade to fifth grade to sixth grade. I was a classroom size reduction teacher, and I focused mainly on math and English and language arts. And then I taught fifth grade again. And then I was asked to be Title I math first through sixth grade because I already knew the math for half of the grade levels. So I said, sure, I can do that. And that was actually my first step in collaborating with teachers, is because I wanted to collaborate in the lessons that they were doing and see how we can. I was always looking to change things up a little bit. And then I did that for a little bit. Then the principal said, would you be interested in Classrooms for the Future Coach? And I said, what's that? And that was going up to the high school level, 7th through 12th grade. And I'm an elementary certified teacher, but it's something that the state of Pennsylvania saw was necessary as they got grant funding to put more technology into the classrooms, and very important to have a coach and somebody there available for the teachers to rely on and to count on when they try some of the new things that they want to do. So I really enjoyed that position as a coach, and I had someone say to me, you should really think about being a librarian, because that's what librarians do. They're getting more into the technology, and they're working with teachers, and they're helping to design and develop lessons and work things like that. And I said, all right. So I went to Mansfield University, and I did online graduate classes. And I started teaching in the library then when the position was open in my school. So it's my 5th year as a library media specialist. And it's been fantastic. But I think in all the experiences that I have had helped me to understand the students better, understand the expectations that I should have for each different level, because I teach kindergarten through 5th grade. So yes, I can, relate with the 5th graders, and I know how to talk to them, but I also have to relate to the 5-year-olds and know how to talk to them and challenge them without getting them overwhelmed. So I think those classroom experiences help with that, and the coaching, just everything just pulls it all together in a library position because you do everything. So.
Yeah, that's funny you went to Mansfield, because I actually started at Mansfield, but I started as a math major because I thought I wanted to teach math, and I did get my certificate in it, but it was one of those things I couldn't see myself teaching the same thing to the same group of student, or the same content, 6 periods a day. So I was just kind of looking for other options in education, and I had really never thought of the role of the librarian as sort of being that place when you like everything. And so that's actually what led me into the career of a librarian, and I really don't think that I would have gone down that career path if it wasn't so focused on the technology. I did my degree at Kutztown then in library science, and their library science is actually in the instructional tech department. So a lot of classes duplicate for the instructional tech masters and the library science masters. And it's interesting because I'm not sure if I would actually be in this career if it were a decade or two previous. It's totally changing. And it's interesting that you mentioned the CFF grants, because I know just in Pennsylvania, there are a lot of teachers that served as the CFF coach in their school when they had the CFF grants, just because it makes sense. I mean, they're skilled in collaboration. They're hopefully at the cutting edge of technology. It just made a lot of sense for that person to do that. So very interesting. Okay, so kind of on that same note is that both of your nominations, I think that stood out the most, and I know that something that we looked at was not just how good of a teacher you are, but how well you collaborate. And if you can, both of you highlighted some specific projects that you've done in the past that you've been able to collaborate with others, or maybe provide the opportunity for students to collaborate with each other, or even students to collaborate with other schools. If you can take a minute and just talk about one of those one of those opportunities, maybe how you got the idea. Maybe it's one of those things that it looked you've done this project for 5 years, but it looked completely different 5 years ago, or just how you got to that point. So Karey, we'll start with you for this one.
All right. You might want to time me. It's going to be tough to keep it in a minute. I'm a Microsoft Innovative Educator expert. And with that program, I had the opportunity to go to Budapest as one of 9 United States educators. I got to represent the United States at a global forum. And there I met another fellow teacher librarian, Julie Hembry, who is from Seattle, Washington. And she is the lead developer of a program called Books to Africa. So I was talking to her, and then I saw her again when I went out to Denver last summer. And I said, you know, I bet if I tell my students about this program, they'll be totally interested in it. She's like, really? I said, yeah. So I mentioned it to the kids. I said, hey, you know, there's some students in Africa. They don't really have any books at all. And I showed some pictures of their school and of the students. And we Skyped with the teacher and talked to the students. And they said, oh, we totally want to do something for them. And yeah, we want to send them books. So we got some books that we're sending to Africa for the program. And I said, all right, what's your goal? How many books should we try to send over? And they said, how many kids are in the school? So I had to talk to the teacher, and there's 400 students in the school. And we just met that goal. So now I have over 400 books to send to Africa. I'm not quite sure how we're going to pay for the shipping, but I wanted to make sure that the kids, you know, the students knew what it felt like to set a goal and to just have that caring, you know, they want to help somebody else in the world. And, you know, it's like, oh, can we send them over some food? Can we send them some soccer balls? And it just, I think the kids really amaze us when we give them opportunities to open their doors to the world. And I could have just said, this is what we're going to do. This is how many books we're going to get, and we're going to send them over. But I think they just show you so much more when you keep it open-ended and say, hey, what do you want to do? What do you think we should do? So that was one thing that it's been a year-long process. In the fall, I Skyped with Julie's classroom, and her students taught my students how to make origami animals, you know, part of makerspace stuff. It was like a make day or something. And then the class that I had said, hey, can we send those to Africa? So I have books, and I have origami, and I have bookmarks, and, you know, the kids just wanted to make something for them as well. So so we did that, and it's just Skyping back and forth, and the kids really love to see the students in Africa. I need to get another Skype with them with another class, but that's been a great collaborative project, you know, for Pennsylvania, Washington State, and Lesotho, Africa. So
yeah, that's pretty amazing. And I think, you know, it's like that's the type of digital citizenship that I think, you know, sometimes we focus so much on digital citizenship about what not to do, but that is a perfect example of how we can use technology appropriately and the good that it can do for the world. So that's awesome. And it's kind of one of those projects that's like disguised as digital citizenship, because you're not going into this and saying like, okay, kids, that we're going to do this project so that we look good. You're doing this because you care, and we're using the tools that are available to us to meet that need. So that's awesome. And I know, I mean, I follow all of the stuff that you do with the MIE experts, and it's just, it sounds like an amazing program. And I know you just tweeted something out relatively recently about nominating. Can you say, is that nomination still open? Can you still apply for that?
The greatest thing about the Microsoft Innovative Educator program is that it's self-nominating. So you don't have to have anyone write anything for you, and you just are like, you know, I'm going to sit at my computer and I think I'm going to do this. And so one night you sit down and create a little sway presentation or a video or a PowerPoint. Why are you an innovative educator? That's what they're looking for. So I know when I applied for that, I used Skype a few times, and I was like, oh, Microsoft bought Skype, so now I use another Microsoft product. And I used Outlook, you know, for email, and of course Word and Excel every now and then, but I really was not the expert on Microsoft products. But now that I'm in it, I know a lot more about it. but they're really about the innovative educators. So if you're out there listening and you are doing some amazing things with your students, those are the kind of educators that Microsoft is pulling in, and they're taking our ideas and saying, how can we make products that'll fit your classrooms better, that will work better for your students? And what I love about it is I can show up with my iPad or my MacBook and they don't shun me. So I have a Surface Pro, and because I got one of those from being in the program, which was great. So I have a variety of devices, but we're teachers and we use whatever devices that our district gives us. So that's what we do, and we just are innovative with whatever we're given. And it's good. So I highly recommend both of you totally need to do that, because you're definitely innovative. And it's a great addition to the team.
Yeah, and I get made I still use PowerPoint. I make all my presentations in PowerPoint. I have to. Anyway. Tracy,
I love it.
So what about you?
Well, one thing about Karey is those are the memories from school that those kids will have forever. And so you're creating those lasting memories of school that are positive and a reminder that everyone can be successful at that project. And I think that that's really powerful. So we are a Digital Promise Learning Studio site. It was a grant through Digital Promise. My district is in the League of Innovative Schools, and so we're a partner with Digital Promise. And so they donated a bunch of really cool technology to my library, to the Makerspace section of my library. And one collaborative project we did this year, which was pretty cool, was I had a custodian that came to me with a doorstop problem. We have a magnetic doorstops in our building, and they were breaking, and you had to buy the whole entire unit, which was like a $200 unit, and they just needed the one piece. And so the custodian said, I know you got all this cool technology stuff. Can you help us out? So I grabbed some kids that I knew kind of were interested in designing and 3D printing, and they started working on it. And they were definitely the experts, because I have very little training in that. And so they designed it, and they went through quite a few prototypes to figure out what would work and what wouldn't work. And then they actually grabbed a classroom teacher and enlisted his help, because they needed some things that I couldn't provide, and they weren't successful finding on YouTube. And so he jumped in and helped, and they were able to design a new doorstop that they then ran on the 3D printer at school. And it not only solved the problem of the doorstop, we 3D print them for the whole building now, but they actually designed a better product, and so it won't crack, because they basically made one part a little shallower, and they just kind of refined the piece to make it so it's saving our school money. They had tremendous pride in their product. They were able to talk about it at other schools, and they were like, oh my gosh, what other schools have the same doors, and should we offer them our design? And it was really great. And I think the part that was really powerful was once other students kind of knew what was going on, they kind of jumped in. And so now we have students who are designing chair pegs for the pegs that fall off of the chair, so they're like wobbly. They're 3D printing, trying to design replacement pegs so that stops. And I think for me, the part that really made me get super excited was obviously collaboration is the backbone of any library program, but what it did was this project in particular, it made students see the library as a problem-solving space instead of just a place to go and get help or get resources or get books. They actually saw the library as, hey, this is a problem-solving space. We can go and solve any problem in this space, and ask the librarian to help in that process. And for me, that was really powerful.
Yeah, definitely. And I know both of you have maker spaces in your school libraries. And I think, what you're talking about, Tracy, is where we want our kids to get, where it's not the teacher identifying the problem and the students coming up with the solutions. We want to get to the point where our students are looking around at the world and identifying things that could be better, and then acting upon those, and then using the tools and the resources that they have available, which hopefully are a lot, that they have in their library. So it's that's incredibly powerful. I mean, I don't think, just even when I was in school, I don't think that I ever even fathomed schools being a place to start the patent process. You know, it's completely changing, and you're right. And that goes back to what you guys both said in the beginning. It is an incredibly exciting time to be in this profession, that you are essentially mentoring the future inventors, forwards. It's very, and it's coming out of a library. So it's incredibly, it's very exciting. Spinning off of that, you know, you both have, whether this was intentional or not, have identified both of yourselves as leaders, both as leaders within your school building, but then also leaders just within the profession of librarianship and beyond, just as leaders in education. So I know, Karey, you had mentioned about your involvement in the Microsoft Innovator program, but if there's anything else that you're involved in, especially at the building level, I think sometimes we discount what it is to be a leader. You need to have a badge, you know, that goes on your website and that shows all of the leadership things that you have. I think most librarians would agree that we're the like selfless career, that it's you don't get maybe not recognized as much just because it's part of our job, you know, that if you're doing your job, you're being a leader. So just talk about some of the ways that you have identified yourself in, you don't just come in and say I'm a leader, you obviously have to demonstrate yourself in that capacity. So what are some of the ways that you two, if it is a program that's like Microsoft, or, you know, I do Raspberry Pi certified educator, anything like that, but then also, again, that building level. So go ahead, Karey.
All right. I have to tell you where it started. It starts with administrators having the faith to believe in you. Like if you find a program where you have to be nominated by someone, like I did a Keystone Tech Innovator. I was a star for that, and that's PAECT, our state-run tech organization does that. And it's when an administrator nominates you for that and you're chosen for it, you take back what you get back to your district and back to your students. And I honestly think that as librarians, we need to be cheerleaders for our districts, and we need to be cheerleaders for our students. And when our districts see that we're their cheerleaders, and wherever we're going, we're saying, look where we teach, look where we work at, and it's a wonderful place to be. You'll get more opportunities like that. But I think it started with the KTI, and then it went into the Microsoft program, and I have just grown so much as a professional in the last few years than I could have ever imagined. And with Microsoft, I went out to Denver, and I went to my first ISTE conference last summer. And I got involved. The PAECT said, hey, we need somebody to lead a little chat session. Will you do it? Sure. What did I just say yes to? Yeah, sure. You know, I do that, you do that. So I did that. And then after ISTE, I was like, wow, that was really awesome. And then I was on the chats for ISTE, and the ISTE STEM network was looking for some volunteers to help with their professional learning network. So I got in on that one. And I'll be the incoming chair for the ISTE STEM PLN, you know, not this year, but the following year. So that's pretty exciting. And even in my district, I'm very blessed that this last summer, they decided to, they're calling building leadership capacity within the district. So leaders aren't just the ones with the badge, like you said, Heather, but there are leaders in a variety of positions in the schools, and we need to see them as leaders. So I was invited to the leadership retreat. It was all the administrators in the district and our coaches and our 2 librarians. And we meet once a month, and we talk about, you know, digital conversion. How's this going? And it's honest talk, and it's just a great thing to be on that leadership team. And the leadership constantly will say, it's not a we and a they. It's not they, the leadership team, they do this. It's we. So when we talk about things, well, we are doing this and we are doing that. Instead, well, they are working on it. They are working on it. We change our vocabulary to we are working on it together, you know, and it's a team thing. So I think one of the best ways like administrators can work on getting their staff to be more leaders is to go ahead and find the ways that they can help them to meet with other leaders from around the state, from around the world. And I know the great stuff you see me doing, Heather, yeah, I stole them from somebody else.
Everybody does. No idea is unique.
I follow the
Yes.
experts on what I want to do, and I'm like, I bet I can do that with my students. I bet my students could do that. And that's where I get my ideas from. And I think the more of us, and it's such a connected world now. I don't have to live in my box and develop all my own lesson plans, and this is what I have to do each time. It can be, wow, what do my students need to learn now? I heard about kids over here that did this amazing project. I think I might want to try that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Yeah, but like, again, just always going back to what we were saying, it's these changes. I know some people have approached them with, hesitation, but it's exciting. And depending on how you look at it, it actually makes things a little bit easier. I mean, some could say that because of the abundance of information, it's harder to find things, but at least you can never say you're short on ideas. I mean, like Pinterest is like the largest lesson plan book in the world.
Definitely.
Tracy, what about you? I know you have definitely some unique connections, some just because, well, partly because of the, I don't know if it's a partnership or something that your school's involved in, but you definitely have some leadership capacity within the building, but then of course, just the articles and things that you've been featured in, you're obviously very connected.
Well, so ours was really a grassroots kind of effort. So in my district, I want to say there's 34 librarians, teacher librarians. And so when librarians got cut way back in 2004, we at that point, one of our librarians who was actually at the school that I'm at, who is Mark Ray, who was Teacher of the Year, and he's Future Ready librarian lead, and he's just the most amazing teacher librarian ever.
Yeah, we all know Mark Ray.
He really built the capacity in our district to have these librarians say, okay, this is our chance to really be relevant and make sure that librarians are never cut again. And so for us, it was really starting at the building level. So I have been really fortunate to have principals who have been really supportive. So for example, in my building, I do a lot of PD in building because I have the opportunity to model tech and try new things without risk of failure. And I've got, the flexibility to test things out. And so really, I've done a lot of PD in my own building. So I'm hoping that my staff really sees me as an instructional leader. For example, we did a whole lesson on a whole meeting on Twitter and why, how to grow a professional learning network. And so just kind of things like that. So definitely in the building, and I'm trying to push more and more librarians to do that. And then this year I've had the opportunity to work as the teacher librarian lead for our district. So Mark Ray, like I said, he's working half-time, so he's our director of libraries and innovation, but he's also working for the Department of Ed, and he's doing some really great things at the national level. And so he brought me on as kind of his partner, and I'm working a lot with the librarians in terms of planning their PD and planning our meetings, and we're fortunate to get together once a month as a librarian cohort. During the school day, our district gives us one afternoon a month, a half day basically to meet. I know, it's amazing, right? Yeah. And really getting us together, because we're all islands and we each have our own library and we're the only one in our building that's doing this work, and getting us together so that people can share ideas and learn from each other and highlight the strengths and the amazing things that they're doing in their own libraries really, as a district, makes us a really strong library program. And then in turn, when we share those stories, whether it be at staff meetings or on Twitter or the newspaper or wherever, if we share those stories, we highlight those things, that these things are happening in our libraries and in our schools, and we show the community how vibrant our libraries are becoming, that in turn, I think, is also building leadership opportunities. So I think it's really multifaceted, but for librarians out there that want to really get started and show that their leadership skills, start small, start with your building, start with your administrator, see if you can present at a few staff meetings, go to your department meetings, and then just grow from there, and try to always bring innovation and new ideas to your staff, because you have the opportunity to be brave and show them that they can do that.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that both of you highlighted is that being a good leader is about providing opportunities for others. So being the champion for when a colleague is doing something amazing, or just like Karey is putting out there, I know people that should nominate themselves for this program. I think it's the type of leadership that we hope to see in our building administrators, because then they would be reaching out to us to say, hey, serve on this curriculum committee, or hey, we're doing this professional development day, would you be interested in doing a session? But we also know that sometimes that's not the case, that we don't have somebody inviting us. And I think in that situation, and you two can touch on this as our closing note, is you might have to do the suggesting. And you're right, it can be something incredibly simple. At our school, we used to do 10-minute Tuesdays, which was a 10-minute after school PD session. We were working on building it up, so like if you attended 6 of them, then you would get an hour worth of your trade time. It's just bite-sized professional development on a tool that you found on Twitter. Maybe you've spent some time exploring and you just wanted to show, hey, by the way, there's this new quizzing feature within Google Slides that you can use. You know, it's, but those small efforts really do add up, and they do identify you as that leader and expert in the field of technology and curriculum and just overall educational teaching strategies. So I know we are just about out of time, but I would say maybe like our final thought on, you know, Tracy, you can elaborate on what you said about just start small, but what are some ways that, you know, you've both transformed your spaces? It's not like you got in and somebody handed you this amazing library program with these students that were already in this innovative mindset. So what's the first step that a librarian that maybe they're taking over a library that is more traditional, or maybe they're working with administrators that have a traditional view of the library and what the librarian's role is. What would you say is a walk away, a takeaway that somebody could, you know, have on their radar to start right now? I know there's only a couple weeks. Well, you have like a month left. But for some of us, there's only a few weeks of school left. Some people are maybe even like within their last week. But what's something that they can start right now to start down that path?
Well,
I would. Oh, go ahead.
All right. I was just going to completely agree with Tracy, where she said start small. My one idea for everyone was dream big, but start small. So don't just stop at the little things. Say, you know what, I think we can get here. You know, and another thing is be open and honest with your administrators. I've only been at this district 3 years. In my first year, I said, hey, you know, I'm going to try this makerspace thing. I've heard a lot about it. It totally might fail. I have no idea if it's going to work. They're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. But I knew when I was hired by the questions they were asking that they weren't really looking for the bookie librarian. They were looking for somebody that can infuse some tech in there. So they're really, I think most administrators are looking for a librarian that's willing to take those steps to say, I'm going to try something new. I'm going to see if the teachers would be good with this, or if this will work with our students. And I know I've had a huge amount of support from all my administrators, and they've seen some things not work well for me, and they're like, okay. And once your faculty members and your teachers see that as well, that gives them a little bit of leverage as well to try new things, to see that, okay, it doesn't always work, you know, and it's still good.
I definitely agree with everything that Karey said. I would say that, you know, look around your space and your program and, you know, be honest with yourself, whether it's a new library or your existing library, and really be honest and have those hard conversations. You know, is my library a book museum, or is it a vibrant, and then try one thing, you know, just, you know, jump in. You don't have to have technology, and you don't have to have a makerspace to have a future ready library. You just have to have a space that is adapting and changing with your students' needs and your students' wants. And if you're doing that, and it's okay if it doesn't, like I said, have technology or a makerspace, or doesn't look like the library across town. If your library is meeting the needs and the wants of your students, then your library is future ready. And so just try one thing, be brave. Our library motto this year in Vancouver was, be brave, not perfect. And so that's what my one piece of advice was, just try something new.
That's awesome. And you know, I absolutely love that you stressed your students, because both of you, although you have things in common, your libraries are incredibly different because you have different students. So, you know, you were talking about in your district being sort of the librarians sort of working in islands, yet you have 34 librarians in your district. Karey and I come from a state where that is like, I mean, maybe there's a district that has like 8, but Karey, how many librarians are in your district?
It was just me for my first 2 years. I finally got a second one now. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not but my point is even within your district that it should look very different, because you have different needs, you have different teachers, you have different administrators. And so sometimes I think we get into the habit of having, I guess, in our head what the perfect library looks like, and yet we can do all of those things and purchase the same furniture and have the same makerspace, but it might not work because we have different kids. So I think that I can't stress that enough, that sometimes we get a little starstruck, I guess, by amazing spaces and what rock star librarians are doing, but they don't work with our kids. And so that's so powerful. And I know both of you guys have maker spaces, and I think it's just so awesome that you're saying that it's not a requirement. It's not like a benchmark in order to even be considered innovative or future ready. It's just you evaluated your space and evaluated the needs of your school, and you felt that that was a good way to target those needs. But that's not the case for everybody. So I'm so glad you said that. So I know we're a little bit over time. So for those of you watching live, thank you for sticking with us. You will be able to meet both of our award winners at ISTE this year, which is also sneaking up. So if you haven't booked your flight yet, make sure you do that. And also make sure that you sign up for the ISTE PLN breakfast. That's when we're going to be giving our awards out. It's a really, really fun time. And then also make sure that you put on your calendar to attend the ISTE social. We'll be doing it at the Hard Rock Cafe on Monday night, I believe. It's always a lot of fun. So if you've never been to San Antonio before, it is, I think, honestly, after all of the places I traveled, it's definitely, it might even be my favorite city. I don't know. Denver was pretty awesome. But it was absolutely amazing. So we hope to see you all there. And I am tweeting out some of the resources that we've mentioned today, but you can follow both of them on Twitter. They are amazing sharers, which is really why they're amazing, because they're amazing at sharing things. They take things from other people and then reshare them to a wider audience. And maybe once in a while we have our own original blog posts, but it's really just about connecting people with each other. So I would strongly encourage you to connect with them if you are not connected with them already. And if you know somebody that would be interested in this webinar, it will be posted on the Librarians Network Weebly. I will also be tweeting it out so you can view it anytime that you want. If you want to view this again because it was just amazing, you can do that. We'll even make it available for download. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thank you to both of you for joining us and just doing amazing things for the profession.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys.
Bye. See you in San Antonio.
Yes. Bye.